from London.
Hi, people. Nice to you to join our workshop today. We're going to be doing a workshop on African masks. And we're really kind of going to be concentrating on expressions, right? So we're going to take our inspiration from some of the masks that you see here. We have a Dan people mask, a Luba mask, and you can see a variety of expressions in Africa. When using the masks, you see another mask. This is from the Luba tradition. We're using here really kind of graphic geometric shapes to kind of describe what we want to suggest in the expressions of our mask. This is a Dogon mask, you can see here, once I get it, where we're using completely different shape. So you see here, this kind of square shape and a round, slightly rounded shape. And on our smaller masks, we can actually work with a round circle. I hope you've got your materials that you will need today. One of the things you will need today is a ruler. Now I've kind of pre-made my pieces. So you can either have a ruler or a card like this. You can either work with a circle or a plate. If you haven't got a circle that you've cut out, a plate you can use. You can use a square if it's a direct square, a complete square, or if you're using more of a rectangle. So any one of those shapes you can use for your mask today. And I'm going to decide to use a circular shape today to kind of and take my inspiration from masks like you see this in Africa. Now, one of the things that you want to do, instead of, we're not going to try and stick to expressing what we see in front of us, but you're really trying to really express. So one of the images, this is something that's really done based on really working with the geometric and reflecting the diversity in both angles, right? Both lines. So we're kind of mirroring on the mask. So you see a lot of that in African tradition. But where you can take your mask is that you may want to take your mask to more of an expressionist view, right? So that now we're using the lines and shapes and our shapes to kind of build in an idea of the expression that you want. So whatever energy that you feel that you want to be today, what we want to do is try to convey that. So you might be feeling here inquisitive. You might be feeling ideas about what you want to have insight. You might be feeling joyful. So we want to try and express that in our mask today. So that will be totally down to you, and you can take your cues from me. So let's start. Once we've got our equipment, you may want to use either markers or pencils. That will help, any markers and pencils that you have. If you want to work in paint, it's good to have a paintbrush and then have your colors. What I've got here is a set of colors that I'm using. So I'm using greens because I want to kind of be a little bit calm today. Greens and yellows. I want to kind of connect back to nature today. So I'm going to use greens and yellows today in my work. So I'm going to use that as a main marker. And for you, if you're going to use larger markers like that, or a smaller markers, that's again down to you. Let's begin. So we're going to begin with a circle. So if I get my shape on my plate and I begin with my circle, and what you wanted to do, we've got these kind of direction lines, but we don't need to make them that accurate because I'm going to go for the more expressionist route in my mask today, right? So what I'm going to do is just really outline the bases. It doesn't have to be perfect. And that gives me my general view. So I've got my first section down. If I take this direction, I can mark it here to get my center, and mark here. And I can kind of fill in that later, right? Now I can take my ruler, place on my lines to kind of get, whether I view a dot, a few dots, just to indicate where that center is. And then I can go to my circle. So if I want to present a circle, that will be presenting my eyes, right? Now, I can place my thing around. So I'm going to use a circle as my base, with green as my base color. Again, not that accurate, just keep it light. And if I want to divide, keep those lines, I can then create my line, bring a line in here just to, and if I again want to then create another slit, I can bring, so now I'm getting an idea of what I want to express. So I want mine to be more inquisitive, so I'm going to use a smaller shape placed here, and I'll just indicate where I want the mouth and the suggestions. But I may now want something in terms of the eyes, maybe an expression to come above. And that gives a suggestion of looking in or eyebrows. And now I want to maybe look at other ideas around the circle. So I can take this shape, place it on slightly off center, and then I can bring in this, just take my marker from here, the flat of my marker, then reflect it on the other side, again, just over the halfway mark. And we're wanting to have more of an expressionistic look, so it doesn't have to be that accurate. And maybe I'll take it in again using the same shape, and you can do this with a rectangle. Considering where my center is, I can bring it down. Look over to the other side, opposite side, because maybe we want our mask to kind of have a geometric feel. So we have opposites on each side, and our mask starts to take shape. But in our center, instead of using the square, I may either want to go to my ruler and maybe take from the center, I will go just to draw a line that will bring in like an angular section like that. And you'll see often again in African masks with the nose, I don't need to, I can either freehand or I can use a straight line. Then bring in suggestions of the nose, right? And I'm feeling a little bit more adventurous now, so maybe I'll take that shape just where the mouth is a little bit more expression on the mouth. So that will bring in a shape here. Now I want my mouth to have a suggestion, like either blowing something or surprise. So I create and that gives you another idea or expression that you can have with your mask. Now, if I was to have this, my mask I'll be holding that bar. So I'm going to create maybe something to hold it with, all right? So just off center, those marks are giving me my directions to where to place my ruler. So I'll use that as an expression. But before I'm looking at my mask, I can start to introduce color, but I may want to start to introduce what we call some dimensions. So just to say, give it some dimensions, I'll just fill in this section here. And you'll start to get like a feeling of a 3-dimensional or 2-dimensional shape now. And maybe I'll just put on one side of the nose. I'll bring it in again here. Just coloring that side. Now we saw some patterns on our mask before, so let's bring in some pattern work on the outside of our mask here. So if I come from the center and I draw up, I can either do it freehand. I come up, create like diagonal lines. Those diagonal lines give me a nice pattern, and then I can reflect that on the opposite side. If I start from my center again, So if I come up the same way, I can cut up. So it starts to mirror that side. But feeling a little bit adventurous, so I can either repeat that on the bottom half, or maybe I'll create other lines. So if I take from my center again, I can come across right to the center and then draw out. And come to the opposite side, come from the center, and I can mark out.
Okay, Kofi, are there any particular references that you're referring to on the resource sheet that you've got next to that you're kind of using as inspiration maybe for the patterns and the marks that you're creating?
Yes, I mean, we have one of the things in the Luba mask, you'll see this pattern and shapes here. And I'm just using them as kind of inspirational reference, not directly copying. And then on our mask, and this, you can see this mask was held. So there's a little point at the end of the mask and it's held. And you can see where they've used a little bit of expressions on the mouth area. And they've used diagonal lines all the way, like this, diamond shapes or triangular shapes all the way around the mask to kind of present a really stunning presentation there, right? And then you've got where you have expressions in the mouth, in the eyes, relationship, a triangle shape, and then circles for the eyes. So again, we may have, if we want to say bringing some ideas here where we're looking at a triangular shape, we may want to bring that into our eye too. So we may want to come up this way. And sometimes you have the eyes, the suggestions of pointing upwards, or the person's eyebrows, coming upwards.
This is really starting to look fantastic and take really good shape. I just want to say a few hellos. Big hello to Lavender Ward, Queen Mary's Hospital, and all the service users and OTs joining us from there. And another hello to Juniper Centre, Sage Ward in Moseley. It's always really brilliant to have you guys live for these workshops. And we're really excited to be working with Kofi today.
So if you want to, you can actually take your lines outside. You don't necessarily have to stay within. You can pick out what lines you want to and use your ruler to guide you as you're working, because you may want to take your mask and express your mask a little bit more. Now, kind of you look at your mask and you see where you want to go again with it. So maybe I'll take a half of that on the opposite side and colouring, just dropping that in a darker colour. And I think it needs something on this inside. So if I now reflect maybe the triangular shapes here. So again, I come maybe going inward this time. So I come this way. And I can work the opposite side. So if I start from here, come in this way. But I don't know about you guys. Maybe I'm thinking I was beginning to add some color now. But I'll take just another suggestion and bring in a line here. I can do that either with your circle. If you want to be a little bit more accurate, you can add a line in here. So now my mask starts to take shape. So you can feel your way through. So now I'll block in just this here, because I want to start to get some depth. And I can either do every other one. And you see your marks will start to get some volume to it.
What's so cool about this as well, Kofi, is that there's no right or wrong answer at all. You're working so intuitively around how you're feeling and just making really kind of quick marks. And that's so exciting to see how everyone's going to shape up.
Well, that's the thing. Whenever you see an African mask, you'll see the expressions in the mask, and it's as if the carver was kind of drawing when he's carving. So I may want to now express the eye, maybe give a little bit more depth in the eye. So I make that eye thicker. I don't have to go over to that eye. I can now again, I can feel this again, and let me bring up these lines this way. So I hope you're feeling through your mask as you create your piece. Now, I think I'll look at introducing some color. Now, the color that you choose you'll definitely see the colors in African mask kind of played down, but I will still go with my greens. So I hope you guys got some water if you're going to have some paint. I take my first brush, and I'm going to do, I can start off with washes. And when you're mixing your paint, you want to mix. If you're adventurous, you may take just a little bit of water, just to give it a little tone. So I want to create some a difference, just to come in there. As you can see, it just creates a slight lighter shade. So if I want to keep that calm feeling, maybe I want a lighter shade in there. Just bring it in here, just. And then I go back again, I look at it, a little bit more water. Maybe I'll have a couple more expressions up here, right? I haven't got feathers, but I can suggest feathers maybe. So I can come, bring in. So now I start to go outside my boundaries. Why stay within your boundaries? Why not just let yourself go? Let the paint flow. And I think I would do some marks down at the base too. The other thing, and if it was an elder's mask, sometimes you might see holes in the mask, and that would have had maybe beads coming from the holes. When this mask would have been probably placed on the face itself, and then the dancer would be expressing, the beads would be moving around, and you'll kind of get a sense of the idea or the energy that the person is carrying. So we'll put some expressions down here, and maybe we'll make them. Well, let's go and look back at the interior. Right? A bit more water. And I've decided that I need a couple more lines, so I'll go back. Why not? So use my circle again to come in, but instead of, I'll go at an angle. Let me just come in there. So you can use your shapes to just come in and make different patterns or lines if you feel it's needed, if you need to add or not. So let me come here, and then I'll add a darker on this side. I don't know about you guys, but maybe I need another color. So let's look at going with a yellow. So I'm going to wash, if you're using the same brush, wash it out in water, go to your next color. Come to my color now. So I'm going to make a little bit more water. And I'll make the central part just here a nice bright yellow. If you're working with paint on paint and you're getting the paint's blurring, don't worry, just see how it feels when you finish. And it's very intuitive. It has to be very intuitive.
So while Kofi is adding lots of lovely yellow colour to his mask, I just want to say a big hello to Martin and everyone joining us from Avocet Ward. Hi to the Rails Ward in Lincolnshire, and a big hello to Leo Ward in Lambeth Hospital. Thanks so much for joining us today, guys.
So we're adding and just separating out these triangular shapes. You might want to hang this up after. Just put it on your wall, let it inspire you. Pick your mood up, change your mood, right?
And just a time check for everyone, we're about halfway through today's workshops. We've got around 25 minutes left today.
We've got some time, so let's do something. So I want to bring some color into the top end of the mask. So let's come up here. So we'll go opposites from here. We'll come up. So you've got that darker, the slightly darker green with a lighter green. We'll fill in those. Keep it spontaneous, because you may be using maybe 3 colors now, and that would still be fine. If I'm sticking to 2, I think I want to really inspire myself today. And also, I may want to mix colors, so I can mix the green and the yellow to give me slightly more lemony color. And then I can bring in those colors here. Right?
And Kofi, can you tell us a bit about the concepts for your workshop today? So we're obviously referencing African masks, and you yourself as an artist are incredible and prolific at kind of doing
Prolific, right?
Exactly, thank you. Kind of portraiture paintings and lots of interest in the face. Kind of what was the idea behind your workshop today?
Well, one of the things that, African masks have always been used in the culture as to resolve problems. So the mask wearer, sometimes if there's a question to be asked, they would use a mask or create a mask to answer some of those questions, issues that they have within the community or the society. And what you'll see is masks are always, in terms of conceptually, you can always change your mood by putting on different masks. We wear a different mask every day according to how we feel, and you can literally change your mood by changing your mask, what you want to wear today. If you create this mask, I'm saying to you right now, I want to feel light. I want to feel uplifted. I'm inquisitive about things. When you look and you inquire about something, sometimes you squint your eyes. So the eyes may be, there may be a slit in the eyes like this. You can see that slit with a circle around it, creates a completely different expression. So if you're looking at something with a wide-eyed expression like this, like you're surprised, or you've had some insight about something. So all those things in terms of how you're looking at or using your mask or getting ideas of the mask relate back to you, to how you can really change your moods for putting on different masks. This is like internally, right? So I might now, maybe I want to change these expressions, and you'll see it starts to indicate to you and tell you how you feel today, how you want to feel today. If I want to feel a lot calmer, then maybe I'll use more subtle colors. Should I reflect that I should go opposite? But maybe I want to keep one eye kind of white. And then maybe I'll bring some color. Here, yellow. Oh, come on. Let's get some water on that. As I'm feeding it, let's come here. Your mask should be coming on now. So I feel I need to just work some color into these top edges. Just out of inspiration, let's just get this. That's better. I can go back to my marker, or maybe I can take a smaller marker. if I want to bring in some detail into my face, I can then darken up these lines, get a bit more definition, give a little more intention in the under the eye here. Then maybe I can bring in some pattern work here. Yeah.
So
And then
using two really bold colours here, but you know, we'd be really excited to see all your submissions to our gallery. Maybe you've used one colour, maybe you used 5. Yeah, you can upload those to our gallery via our website, hospital-rooms.com, and click on the Digital Art School tab.
so I can definitely see somebody holding this mask and working with it within a dance. Take your time and look at your mask again. See where what do you think is needed. And I still want this eye to stand out. But what I will do is just darken up some of these edges here. Create a little bit more definition around here. And just to complement this side, what I think I'll do is fill in these triangles. If you're using a brush, I hope your hand's steady. If you're using a marker, you should be slightly more accurate. So that's looking quite vibrant now, right? Still, let's go back to my paint wash. Okay. To a vibrant yellow. Coming on this side. And this, maybe I'll have a green wash just to hold. Just a wash, just to hold that area there. Does our nose stand out a lot? Introduce these lines a little bit more. Yeah. Okay, we're getting there. Some of these here. This person is very surprised. And this might have been placed on a shrine for a ceremony. It may be something that was used just before the ceremony started, so it may be propped up on a shrine. You know, not everybody would be able to come in contact and touch the mask. That would only be either the carver or the priest that was working with the mask. Right? And you'll have children, adults in that ceremony, and they will be getting all kinds of insights. And sometimes it was really fun. You know? So you would find the person who's wearing the mask just run around and scaring the children, and they would be running from the mask. So how are we doing?
So we have actually got about 10 minutes left today, Kofi. Is there anything else that you wanted to show us to do with your mask?
And so have we got any questions around it?
Yeah, so just another invitation to everyone. We absolutely love to answer your questions. You can submit those in the chat box or using the Q&A function.
So Sometimes when you see masks, you'll see with horns, and they will often, this is a Dogon mask, and it will be often related to an energy or an animal that they're connecting with, and those animals will be either animals that they're migrating through the environment that they lived in. In this mask that you see here, you don't see any mouth expressions at all, but really all the indication is in the eyes, and you can see in the eyebrows, and they've kind of used that simple color to kind of bring out the eyes a bit, right? So this might have been, often you get lots of masks in African tradition that really represent antelopes. And then in these masks, you'll also see where you see a female mask, and then you can often know a female mask because of the you'll see the patterning on the hair will denote female mask, and often maybe a round figure that will be much softer. And this is obviously a male expression. And there's no hair patterning. And you can just see in there gently, you might be able to see those little holes in there where the mask wearer would have straw or grass coming out the mask. That again, you can see that would be really dynamic if it was in a dance. And here you see, like similar to my mask, you see the expressions in the mouth, but they've used the circles in the eyes, where I've used kind of half circles. They use a full circle, so that person looks surprised, as you can see here. The person looks surprised, that woman looks surprised, and the eyebrows are going up, and then you'll see a very different expression in the eyes in this smaller mask here, where you'll see the eyes are slit and the eyebrows are going down with a long nose. And you'll see the characteristics of the mask tend to relate to the personalities or body types or facial expressions of those people who lived in that region or within that particular culture. So I hope you guys have really done some really great masks. I hope you've used lots of colors, and I really look forward to seeing what you've done. Now I'm going to look at and seeing if there's anything else I need to add. And I think one last thing just on the opposite side.
So Kofi, you mentioned that one of those masks had kind of straw woven elements. Could you tell us about kind of the materials that these masks would have been made out of? Is it largely kind of wood that they'd be carved out of?
Most masks will be made out of wood, because just generally you can get that from the environment. If you're living in a natural environment, you can get those materials from the environment. But often they would be inlaid with other materials. Sometimes copper. Sometimes what you see in this mask is a reliquary mask. You'll see this is really with copper, and this was around the turn of the century. So what they used, when they were trading materials, they would bring those materials into their mask, and they used copper in here. And sometimes you had masks where they would use on their shoulders, right? So again, they would have metal materials that would come in to strengthen the mask depending on what they do. And here you'll see string, string to kind of represent the hair, or straw that would represent, that would be woven together to kind of relate their hair through the mask. And where you see here, where they're carving the mask, when they're coloring their mask, sometimes they will be done with big pigments from plants, where they'll color the masks. Nowadays, sometimes you'll see they use boot polish, but naturally we use pigments from nature, from plants, and you use it to color and tone your mask, or to darken it. And so lots of the masks here, like these terracotta colors, they would actually come from literally, sometimes if you go to certain places in West Africa and other parts of Africa, you'll see the ground is very red, and you can really just put a little bit of water in there, and you've got the terracotta paint, and that will color your mask. You put that into your wooden barn, really rub it in, you'll get that really deep color. And over time, it will turn, you've got redness in the lips here, etc. So you, color-wise, you're going to pull that from nature. And in terms of the materials, some of the materials in terms of how they traded, but also using the natural materials around you. in whatever form and shape that came in. And so, you know, when you looked at a mask, a mask may represent a particular energy. So some different materials would be used in that mask. And when we say energy, maybe there'd be certain plant materials that we rubbed into the mask. You'll see, say, like cowrie shells for healing. They may be introduced into the mask. If it was a female mask like this, you may have cowrie shells knitted into the hair of the mask or tacked on. So depending on the energy mask of the mask, that was what the mask was trying to represent. You would then bring in those types of materials that would help to enhance the idea or the energy behind the mask.
Absolutely wonderful. And we're so excited to see everyone's submissions to our gallery. Can't wait to see what colours you've all chosen to use. We've got a question from Anne about the resource sheets that you're referring to, Kofi. We have actually put one, uploaded that onto our website. I will send you through the link on the chat box, but you can download that and use that as an additional workshop resource from our website.
Right. So my mask is round about finished. I might finish it off later. I feel like I can maybe add a bit some yellow to this eye.
Just as a time check for you, Kofi, we've got about 5 minutes left of today's workshop to just add some finishing touches to your mask.
And let me add again to the other side. And straight away, that really makes a difference. And just to intensify, I take that there. I think I'll leave that white. And going back to my marker. Don't be too precious about it. Remember, you want to express just a continuous there. So now bring in this diamond shape in here.
And Alvin, we've had a technical question about equipment that you're using today. Can you let us know
Yes.
what kind of pens that it is you're using, or if there's a specific brand or type?
Well, these are Liquitex. This one is a Liquitex acrylic marker, and they're really handy. So you can actually, you know, paint with them. They give you a nice, really broad strokes once you know, or you can use them, you know, like that. So those Liquitex pens are really handy. I'm using acrylic paint today. These are just acrylic paints, which are and with acrylics, they dry quickly. So some of this, you know, is dried already. Yeah, and it depends on the amount of water that I use to how quickly. So if I'm using direct from the tube, I can get a really quite solid color. If I'm using quite a darker, I can again get something quite dark. Right? And then on my markers, I will use again, these are the smaller Liquitex acrylic markers. And if you're working with pencils, you can get pencils like that when you work with them and you put a wash on those pencils. You know, you put a water wash. Some of those pencils will bleed. So they'll give you a bleed, allow you to bleed. Right? So those are just using water-based materials. I wouldn't use, for something like this, I really wouldn't use oil paints. I prefer to use a water base because they'll dry quickly, and then I can hang my mask, or I can cut my mask out and I can hang it up to kind of give me inspiration in the day. And when I'm introducing mask into my, you know, you saw with the at the beginning of the workshop, you saw me that portrait of my contemplation, and it actually has two masks either side of my head. Yeah, and those are done. That's done in oil and acrylic. Yeah, so that's again more of a longer process.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Kofi. We've actually finished bang on time today. That was such a kind of a speedy and exciting workshop. Thanks so much for leading us through it. On behalf of Hospital Rooms, just thank you so much to everyone that submitted a question.
Thank you so much, guys, everybody, for coming on.
Thank you so much to everyone that's joined us live for our workshop today. We've had a big hello to Cleo, who says thank you so much, Kofi.
Hope everybody had a great time. I look forward to seeing your masks.
Fantastic. So it's time now to launch our end of workshop poll. If you could please indicate on your screens how you found the workshop today. This will really help us to grow and improve the Digital Art School through 2022 and beyond. So this poll will be appearing on your screens now, and we'll let it run through to the end of the session. Richard, if we could please have our slideshow. So if you're still here with us, I'd like to share with you all the story of Hospital Rooms and how the workshop today has come about. So we are a London-based arts and mental health charity, and we transform inpatient NHS mental health units with extraordinary art. The Digital Art School is hugely important as it allows us to build a community where we can join together globally and feel part of something really special. You can find the library of our past projects and all of the previous Digital Art School workshops on our YouTube channel, where you'll find a variety of original sessions with leading artists, from mono printing to negative space drawing, cartoon creatures, and so many more in between. Please do have a look and subscribe to our channel. We also have a Digital Art School newsletter, which keeps you informed of upcoming workshops, the materials you'll need for them, along with any PDF downloads that you'll need for the sessions. You can sign up for that at hospital-rooms.com. We absolutely love when you share your artworks with us by uploading to our online gallery. You can submit those using your name, or you can stay anonymous. If you've created a mask today, either joining us live or watching this back on demand, we'd really love to see them. We will be back next week with a geometric heart design workshop with artist and maker Poppy Lennox on Thursday, February 17th. So don't forget to register for that. It's completely free. From myself and everyone on the Hospital Rooms team, thank you all so much for joining us today. And a huge thank you once again to the wonderful Alvin Kofi for a fantastic mask making workshop. Thanks so much again, everyone, and we look forward to seeing you all next week.